Hey there, photographer friends. So excited to be bringing you this class for IrisWorks, all about how do you operate an effective photography business, namely, how do you fill your funnel with new clients, get people to actually book you, and how do we create a new audience from people that may have never heard of us before. And the reason we're bringing you this class is because one of the main things that I hear from photographers, and if you're anything like them, one of the big questions that you have is, how do I get more clients knowing, hearing, and trusting me to be their photographer, for them to actually want to take the next steps to book us as clients, to book us as their photographer? So we're going to be diving into that today. First, if you don't know who I am, I'm Sean Brown. I'm a high school senior photographer based in the beautiful Pacific Northwest in the Portland, Oregon metro area. And while I specialize in high school seniors, I also help photographers of all genres build successful, thriving businesses, namely senior photography businesses of their dreams, so that they can have more freedom, flexibility, and time to do what they truly want to do. And in this class, what you're going to learn is one of the big pillars of what I do in my business on a day-to-day that allows me to get more clients through the doors, get them trusting me as their senior photographer without necessarily adding more work to my plate. Because if we are constantly working harder and not necessarily building the systems that allow us to actually have that freedom and time and flexibility, the big question becomes, why are we doing that? And so what we're going to do is teach you how to do that today in a way that doesn't necessarily add more hours into your day, and it is a system that runs on its own, mostly automated, which is a fantastic thing. You're probably thinking, that sounds great, Sean. Let's dive into the meat. You also may have this burning question in your head, which is, well, if social media is working so great for me, Sean, why do I need to have something else in my business? Why do I have to create this so-called funnel? And we're going to dive into what that looks like. And one of the things that I liken this to is, we've all heard the saying over the years, which is, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And that's a very true saying, because one of the things that happens is, if we do put all of our eggs in one basket, what happens if we accidentally drop that basket, or if the bottom falls out of the basket, something happens to that basket, and now all of a sudden, all of our eggs are broken? Well, if we had only put them in maybe one or two baskets, well, now we're left with either none of our eggs or half of our eggs, versus what if we were to put them in multiple areas? If we were to spread out our reach, our time and our effort in different areas, that then if one basket broke, one basket breaks. That's not that, it's not the end of the world at the end of the day. And when we spread ourselves out, what it allows us to do is diversify our marketing approach. And this is really, really important. And we're going to talk about why this is important, because one of the things that you've probably seen, especially as of recent, is social media doesn't always work. We are in an age where social media, our reach of who we can actually get the attention of, is declining day in and day out, without having to necessarily pay for advertising, or maybe we pay for a post and it doesn't even reach the right people because we're not using the right strategies. And one of the things too is, we have to ask ourselves a question, well, what if social media stops working entirely? We've seen Facebook go down for hours or days at a time, same with Instagram. And if we're only relying on one or two social media platforms to bring us all our leads, well, what happens if that just stops working? What happens if the algorithm changes? What happens if now all of a sudden our followers can't find us anymore because our account got deactivated or suspended for some reason, or maybe, God forbid, it gets hacked? And then we have to ask ourselves a question, well, then how do you find clients then? And one of the answers is, well, we have none if our only reliance is on social media. And what we want to do, and what I recommend for every photographer to do, is to build their own platform. And like I mentioned, social media changes, and when it does, what do you have to rely on? But when you have your own platform, namely email and the strategy of using Facebook ads or paid advertisement in conjunction with this, well, what happens is, this allows us to have a way of reaching new clients, regardless of if our organic social media isn't necessarily doing the trick that it should. And one of the things that I always say is, people say, Sean, well, Facebook ads, I've tried those, they don't really work. And we're going to talk about one of the reasons why they may not be working for you in just a minute. But another thing is, we're potentially missing out on reaching clients that really like what we do, who connect with what it is that our vision is, our message, what we stand for. And now all of a sudden they are like, oh my goodness, this is my photographer here, but it wouldn't have been possible had we not reached them through these other platforms. And what happens is we can combine multiple strategies together, and how they play together is a really cool thing, because what it allows us to do is build what we're doing, or keep doing what we're currently doing, but also build on something completely new, bring more clients into our funnel so that our schedule is fuller than ever, but also in a way that we're not necessarily working harder. And one of the things I'm going to touch on really quick is that the goal is not just to rely on one of these strategies. So I'm not saying ditch organic social media, stop posting Instagram or Facebook or trying to do the TikToks or anything like that, but rather let's add this as another tool in your toolbox in your business. Because one of the things that we can do is we can say, okay, well, now that we have more tools, now what we can do is we can use them in certain different ways, and maybe one is more effective for the goal that we're trying to accomplish. And we're going to dive into that today. So that's just kind of an overview of what we're going to be talking about. So the agenda for today is we're going to talk about an overview of how Facebook ads and email work together, the one thing that you must be doing for a successful email list building, and then we're also going to take an a bird's eye view of what a successful funnel looks like. So I know I'm working a little bit fast because Meredith and the asked me to keep this about 20 minutes. I told them I wanted to pack a lot in. So as always, you guys can go back and rewind and all that stuff, or pause it when you need to. So one of the big things is we have to ask ourselves, well, why even try Facebook ads and email marketing? And there are 4 really big things of why I recommend Facebook email or Facebook ads in conjunction with email marketing. And I'm going to talk about why maybe email marketing hasn't necessarily worked, why Facebook ads haven't necessarily worked for you in the past, and how one simple tweak can actually change this all. And one of the big reasons that you may want to use Facebook ads is, well, you're going to reach an audience that you otherwise wouldn't. How many times have you guys been on Facebook and you saw this awesome product that you're like, oh my goodness, like this is perfect for me, I've got to have it. You click the buy button, you added it to your shopping cart, you checked out, and then a couple days later it arrived on your porch. Well, you may not have heard of that company or that product had it not been for Facebook ads. And the same goes for people who may be looking for a photographer. You may be right for them and they just haven't found your page yet. And one of the ways of getting in front of them, a new audience, is via Facebook ads. It also allows you to build your brand and grow your brand recognition. So one of the things that can happen is we're inundated by hundreds of social media posts every single day. And when we're scrolling our feed, how often has it happened to you where you see this awesome post and then you go back like even 30 minutes later and you scroll to try to find it and it's vanished, right? Well, one of the things that Facebook ads can do is get you back in front of those individuals again. And then they can see it and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to lose it this time. I'm going to save it, all those sorts of things. Not to mention, it also overcomes that organic reach decline that we're seeing across pretty much all platforms right now, Facebook and Instagram specifically. It also allows you to build and grow your own platform so that no matter what, if Facebook goes down, Instagram goes down, they don't see, your followers stop seeing your posts, you can reach them. You know that your emails are getting to them. They're landing in their inbox, they're opening them, they're reading them, and it's ultimately you being able to go directly to them without necessarily the platform, Facebook or Instagram or whatever other social media it is, telling you, no, you're not going to reach them today. So these are just a few reasons. Like I mentioned and what I alluded to is you may have tried Facebook ads and you said, you know what? I've tried Facebook ads. It didn't work. So what can we do and why may that have been? Well, one of the things is you probably were just going about it the wrong way. That's kind of the simple answer for you. And if we're doing it the wrong way, it might not necessarily be that our actions aren't correct, that we weren't doing the right thing. I don't doubt that you went to Facebook and you ran an ad or you boosted a post or something like that. But that's not necessarily the strategy that's going to book you clients. Facebook ads at the end of the day is just a tool. But if we're not using that tool correctly, if we're trying to use a hammer for a screw, it probably isn't going to work real well. It might work to an extent, but it's not going to work as effectively as if we were to pick up the right tool. Screwdriver for this instance. So raise your hand, and I know you can't see me or I can't see you on the other side of the screen, but just raise your hand at your desk unless you're operating a motor vehicle, and then don't. But raise your hand if you have run Facebook ads, something similar to this, where you're like, oh my goodness, this is me. This sounds like me. Well, what most people do before I've worked with them, or before they've kind of taken the correct courses like you're taking right now to tell you, hey, this is why it's not working, is it goes a little something like this, where you run a Facebook ad, you say, now booking, I'm going to run it to an offer. Maybe you're doing mini sessions, or maybe you have a couple wedding dates that you're trying to fill, or maybe it's like a once a year family session that you are doing, and you've got to get somebody to book. So what you do is you say, hey, I've got one session left in your Facebook ad. Who wants it? Or going quickly, or whatever it is. And then what happens is you click publish on it. You selected all your demographics. You're targeting moms in the area that like such and such and all that stuff. Or maybe you're not running it even to your area at all. That's a whole nother topic right there. But you let it run a few days. You put maybe $50, $100, maybe you put more, and you don't hear anything back. You hear crickets. Well, why doesn't that work very well? We have to think about what is happening in this funnel, especially if you're somebody that they've never heard of before. So if they've never heard of you before, what makes you think that they're going to want to book you, especially if you're a high price photographer relative to, the shoot and burn photographers in your area. Maybe you're a shoot and burn and you're competing against all the other shoot and burn photographers, and you're competing on price and that sort of thing. Well, what's to make them choose you over the other photographers? Why isn't it working? You're running the perfect offer to them. Well, when we change our approach of how we're using Facebook ads, everything completely changes. Because one of the things that's missing in that previous approach is that they didn't know us. They didn't know who we were. They didn't know what we were like. They definitely didn't know, what it is that we offer as part of our business. Maybe if you do in-person sales or anything like that, there are many things that you probably do to make your clients feel extra special. And your people running that saw that Facebook ad have no idea what that is. And so what we want to do is we want to change up our approach to answer that big question. Who is this photographer, and why do I want to work with them? What makes them different? And so what we can do is use what I call the best social media ads strategy paired with email, which answers the big question of who are they? What do they do? Why do I want to work with them? So rather than just running a Facebook ad to a specific call to action or specific CTA, what we're going to do is we're actually going to run the Facebook ad to what I call a valuable content offer. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in my business for high school seniors in just a second. What a valuable content offer is simply something that is content that is of value to your prospective clients. Maybe this is a blog post that you've written about, the best outfits to style your husband in for family sessions. Because as we all know, my attire for myself is t-shirts and jeans. You probably don't want your husband showing up in t-shirts and jeans for family sessions, right? And maybe you're a wedding photographer and it's the best venues in your city. You've written a blog post about this and you're marketing towards brides. So what do? They're interested. They want the best venue. They want their photos to look amazing. So what do? They click the blog post. Then what we can also do is maybe what we have put together is some sort of guide where it's the best, the top 10 things to make sure that you're doing for your newborn photos, something like this, something that is specific to your genre. And this is what we call a lead magnet. And what a lead magnet is it's something they can download. It's something that you give them some information in exchange for their email. Or one of the things that we can do is get really, kind of tricky and put the opt-in in our blog post. So what we do is now we have this cycle, and hopefully you guys can see my cursor. If not, we're going to go over the top line of this funnel. So what happens is a person opts in for your offer. So maybe in that blog post you had, the 3 tips, and then you're like, hey, I've actually got 7 more tips for you about whatever subject it is that they clicked on that blog post. To read those 7 tips, I'll send them straight to your inbox right now. And then what they do is they opt in for your email lead magnet. Then you send that to them via email. And then this is the big one. They enter your email marketing nurture sequence. What a nurture sequence does, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. What that nurture sequence does is it answers that big question. Who are you and why do people want to work with you? It gets people to know you. So rather than Facebook ads running directly to an offer, a mini session, book now type thing, now what we're doing is we're giving them a little taste of what we could potentially offer them, something that solves an issue or a problem that they have in booking a photographer or wanting to book a photographer. And then in exchange for us giving them that and solving their problem, they give us their email. Now, we may be asking the question, well, what if they don't give you their email? And that's a complete possibility. So now what we can do is we can say, okay, well, we go through the bottom funnel now. Well, a person doesn't opt in for our offer, but what we've done is we've actually captured their information. What we can do is we can use pixels on our website. It's called Facebook Pixel. It tracks who has been to our site. And then what it allows us to do is say, okay, well, we're actually going to create a Facebook audience of people that have been to our website. What we're going to do is we're going to get back in front of them. How many times have you guys been looking for a flight? Or have you looked for a certain destination? You're like, trips to Cancun. And then all of a sudden in your Facebook, it's really curious. You get a bunch of hotel offers for, best hotels in Cancun, or maybe it's an airfare to Cancun. You get all these travel related things. Well, that's because what these sites are doing is they're saying, hey, this person wants to go to Cancun. We're going to get back in front of them. And that's exactly what we're doing. And one of the ways that I really like to do this now is through Facebook video and doing something that's called ThroughPlay. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, anybody who is interested in what I offer, I'm going to create a little video. And then what I can do is I can present offers for a lead magnet or to a mini session or something like that, or, whatever you're trying to get them to book. And what's cool about this is we already know that they're interested in us. So we're building an audience who is already kind of geared towards what it is that we want them to buy. So this is a little bit of an overview. And I know this is kind of a really overview and I'm not going into details because the back end is stuff you guys can figure it out. This is the big important part, the kind of the philosophy of why this works. So what happens is they see the video or they see the content offer or something like that. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, well, anybody who watched what it is that we did, the video, etc., then what we can do is we can show them this ThroughPlay retargeting offer. This is where we ask for their email. Or what we can do is if it's a really engaged audience, maybe what we're doing is we're running it to people that may already know about us, that have watched our page and watched a lot of our videos or something like that. What we can do is we can do what we call a Facebook Pixel retargeting offer, which is then we present the offer to actually book with us once they already know us or know a little bit about us. The reason that this works is because, well, one, they may be a part of our email audience, but what also happens is we're also not leading straight to the booking offer. We're not going straight to the punch. Okay, what we're doing is we're warming them up a little bit, getting them to know us, and especially when we get them into our email nurture sequence, now what happens is we say, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're actually going to send them 7 or 8 emails over the course of the next few weeks or a month or something like that, and just to get to know us a little bit. And what I recommend for this is add stuff about your business that you really want them to know. So you can see my nurture sequence on the left of this page, which is like the welcome email, the 10 tips email, which is 10 tips to picking the perfect high school senior photographer, wardrobe tips, a little bit about my YouTube channel so they can see my personality via video. And this is all what we want to do. And then what we can do is we can email them with a booking call to action to a warm audience. So what we could do is say, hey, anybody who's in our email audience, what we're going to do is actually send them a Facebook ad, or we could just go straight to email with them and say, hey, Here's our offer. Here's what we're doing. Limited spring sessions available. Let's book. And what happens is the second method is so much more effective because what we're doing is we're focusing on building our brand over trying to sell to new prospects who may not even know who you are or what the heck you even do. And one of the things that you're probably not going to argue with me on is it's much easier to convert a warm lead than it is a cold lead. If somebody knows a little bit about us, how much easier is it for them to book us? A lot, because they know us, they like us. And over time, what you're doing is if you run this in the right way, you overlap the ad strategies, what we can do is we can actually create a really qualified audience. More and more and more. The more videos they watch, the deeper they get to know about us and the brand, or the more ads they see, the more familiar they become with you. And also what we can do is we can see that the more that they see this, the more that they're engaging with us, the more qualified they are. So the one thing that I see a lot of photographers miss is they miss this valuable content offer piece. And this is something that brings your audience value and something that they want to engage with. This can be anything from an educational blog post to a client guide to a quiz. And one of the things I want you to keep in mind is that this is not meant to sell them on your services quite yet. So if we're jumping in and we're like, hey, book us now, we gave you this guide, and then right at the end of the guide, we're like, book now. Well, they still haven't gotten to know you quite yet. We still want them to warm up a little bit, because what you want to do is you want to help them as much as possible without asking for their business quite yet. And this is a big key. So a couple tips for what makes a great valuable content offer. The first is we want to make sure that we're actually helping our prospective clients. This isn't something that helps us. This isn't something that we need them to see because it's a marketing tool for us. No, we need to ask, what questions do they have? What problems do they have? And what solutions can we bring to them in any facet of our business? Styling, locations, prep, anything that will help them at any portion. And what we're going to do is we want this to tie into what we're doing in our business. So, for instance, putting together a guide about makeup and hair and directing your senior to pro hair and makeup, it only works if you actually offer this. Or what we want to do is if we want to do something in our business, what we're doing is we're creating a piece of content that kind of goes hand in hand with that. One of the other tips that I want to give you is we don't want a lot of text. We're photographers, we're not authors. People are coming to us because of the photos and the stories that we can tell through photographs. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to write novels for them. We want them to just quickly pick up, absorb the information, get a quick win, and be able to see what it is that we can produce visually for them, and then understand and learn what it is that we do in our business through the use of photographs. So you want this to be very visually rich. When you're creating your content offer, this is something I see a lot of photographers get hung up on, because what they think is they panic. They go, oh my goodness, now I need to do one more thing. What do I even put together? Well, my first thing is think about what it is that you do in your business that's different from what maybe other photographers do. What is one thing that you are doing in your business that you can really kind of drive home with your potential clients? Maybe you're the only photographer that offers X, Y, or Z in your market. Well, we want to really hammer that point home. The next is think about what you may already have in your arsenal of client resources. And then what we can do is we can create a free educational resource that maybe is kind of a par down version of that, where it's not your full client guide that you're going to send to them, but what it is a little bit of that. So for instance, mine is a what to wear guide. And one of the things that I do is part of that what to wear guide includes a shopping guide. So mine is the wardrobe shopping guide. And I took a little piece of what I already had made, grabbed all the info, packaged it into a lead magnet, that valuable content offer. And then I allow people when they come to my website to actually download that, or via Facebook ads to download that. And one of the things that I also want to say is, you want to make sure that this is something that your audience is going to resonate with, that they need in their day-to-day of when they're searching for the photographer. So a senior, for example, isn't going to be as likely to want a guide on how to design the portrait, perfect portrait display in their home, whereas maybe the parent does. A guide is going to be different for the senior than it is for the parent. Guide is going to be different for the brides than it is the grooms, right? Different questions, that sort of thing. So we want to get in their head of what do they need in their lives when booking a senior photographer. This is an example of what a Facebook ad will look like. So what you want to do is you want to get really clear on what it is that you're going to offer them and your delivery and your promise. One of the things is I am going to make the promise of, hey, want to know how to dress better for your senior photos? Here's a guide that will help. Then we want our photos, our graphics to be descriptive. We want them to, grab their attention, but we also want to be enticing, want them to grab it, but also make sure that it tells them exactly what it is. So this is just kind of an example of what a really good guide looks like. Now, what we have to do is we have to actually get them in our funnel and nurture them. So once they're in, our job is not done. Well, we have to think, okay, well, how are we even going to deliver the emails? So I mentioned this is kind of automated. You may be thinking, Sean, that's a lot of emails to send out. Well, you may be right, but one of the things that you already know is how much you love automations because you're with Irisworks or you're soon to be with Irisworks, and you've seen the power that email marketing or email prep and stuff like that and email automation can have in your client process. Why not automate it on a different front? What we're going to do is we're going to use an email service provider. And this is a specific software, typically online, that allows you to do things like organize a list, who's on your email list, and then schedule and send emails based on when they got on your list, or do an email blast, and it automatically collects those emails and does all of like that categorization for you. It's super cool. I personally use MailChimp. It's a pretty robust system. You can use MailerLite, all these things. Basically, all you want to do is make sure that somebody can get on your list and that it can trigger and send an email, much like lead forms through Irisworks, where they enter their information and then it sends them whatever info you send to your leads. It's very, very similar. Now, what does a good nurture sequence look like? Well, what we want is we want that nurture sequence to start immediately. What happens if it doesn't start immediately? Well, they're going and they're searching their inbox. And they're like, well, I just signed up for this free guide, this free resource, but it's not in there. Where is it? Well, what we want to do is we want to make sure that it sends out immediately. We also want to make sure that in that nurture sequence, we're striking a good balance between not enough and too much. We don't want to spam them. We don't want to be annoying, but we also don't want them to forget us. And then third, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're creating emails that provide value, telling us about, telling our clients or prospective clients how we're different, and relating it directly back to them in a way that they can understand what we do and how it benefits them. This is an example of my nurture sequence. Like I mentioned, it runs about a month. So on average, they're getting an email roughly every 5 days or so. Let you pause this. I'll take a sip of my LaCroix. And you guys can look at what these are. These are emails that help them along the way. Everything from differentiating factors to getting to know you better. This is a sample and roughly how often I send them. Because what we want to do is we want to make sure that our email sequence lets them know about us, but it's also representative of our brand. Because at the end of the day, if this is our first the first impression that they have of you, well, what we want to do is we want to make sure that it's a good one. We want to make sure that it's truly representative of the experience and the quality that we offer. So this is an example of what my nurture sequence emails look like. These are super easy to design. If you need to grab some email templates, you can grab them. This is courtesy of Amanda Holloway and Adam Homerdine from the Modern Collective. And I think it's Modern Collective. And one of the things that you can do is you can customize these emails, put them into your email marketing service, and voila, now all of a sudden you have clickable emails that look amazing and are representative of your brand. So this is what I do. Now you may be thinking, Sean, you haven't really talked about how we get them to book. Well, that's the next step. The next step in the process is we got to send them the email. Hey, so-and-so, we've got 2 sessions left for summer. We'd love for you to grab one of them. All you got to do is X, Y, or Z. We send the call to action email. Because once they've gotten to know us, once they've gotten to trust us a little bit, what they're going to do is it's going to be much more likely that they then book us and want us and need us as their photographer. And what we can do is we can do this right around the beginning of our calendar season so that when dates open up, we're getting them right on the calendar. If you have specific events, like I mentioned, mini sessions, or your bridal calendar opens for the next year, maybe you have a couple newborn slots that just happen to coincide with, the 2 weeks that you thought you were going to be out of town, but you're not. I'm just making up scenarios here. We want to be able to have that list ready, that list warm. And then what we do is we hit them with the call to action. We ask them for the sale. Hey, so-and-so, would you like to book with us? Now, what we can see is that at the end of all of this, it's not a cold lead that we're marketing to. We talked about why this doesn't work if we run it to cold ads. It's because they don't know us. They don't like us. They don't even know what it is that we do or how we'll help them. But once they've been through our nurture sequence, once they've seen us multiple times and gotten familiar with our brand, they're so much more likely to book. So that is going to wrap it for this. I tried to cram as much into 20, 30 minutes as I possibly could for you. If you do want to connect, you can reach me over on the Instagrams, the socials, Sean Brown Productions. I am on TikTok at Sean Brown Photos. And I also host the Shoot for Success Photography podcast, where I help photographers figure out what it is that it takes to run a successful photography business, namely the business side. And we focus on the senior portrait aspect of it, but we also have some other genres as well. So would love for you to tune into there. Hope that you are doing fantastic. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of this IrisWorks. I hope this was helpful and gives you some ideas on how you can begin diversifying your marketing, booking more clients with the power of Facebook ads, or social media ads, I should say, and email marketing, and how you can use this as another tool in your toolbox. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great day.